This video will explain the story of Doom: The Dark Ages. I'll be going over the main story, the codex, and the ending to see how this all connects to the broader Doom canon. Huge shout out to id Software and Bethesda for giving me a code to the game early, and quickly, a spoiler warning for Doom: The Dark Ages. If you're interested in more Doom lore, specifically the stories of the other Doom games, very soon I plan to release a full breakdown of each Doom game's story in chronological order. Starting from the early days of Doom 1 to the Ancient Gods DLC and everything in between, including Doom: The Dark Ages. So be on the lookout for that very soon. As always, like the video if you enjoy and subscribe if you're new. Feel free to check out my other story videos, whether that's straightforward explanation videos like this or my analyses and retrospectives. And if you want to support me further, you can also donate to the Patreon linked in the description. But without further ado though, let's get started. So first thing we have to ask is where Doom: The Dark Ages fits in the timeline. Well, the game is a prequel to the newer Doom games that started with Doom 2016, putting it right after Doom 64. So when we last left off chronologically, Doom Guy at the end of Doom 64, having just saved the world from a demonic invasion, vowed to stay in Hell and take the fight to them instead. The rest of the story was then outlined in Doom Eternal: Story of the Sentinels Codex. Doom Guy would then be taken by the Sentinels and tested in their Colosseum. Eventually, he earned their respect and honor, which allowed him to fight alongside them. Hearing of his near constant mention of demons, the makers had looked into this race of beings only to spark a war with the armies of Hell. The tale of Doom: The Dark Ages takes place during these codices. As the game starts, we can see Doom Guy fighting with the Sentinels against the armies of Hell. They not only call him the Slayer, a title he earned later in their story, but the Sentinels are still allied with the Makers, as seen by Creed Maker. The last few codices of the Sentinels story detail how the Sentinels found Necraval, a processing factory in Hell. The Makers in Hell had struck a secret alliance. The factory would torture souls, mainly those of Argent, the homeworld of the Sentinels that Hell had taken, breaking their minds and spirits. Once thoroughly defeated, the essence would be taken to the Maker's homeworld of Urdak, while the body would be dumped into the blood swamps to become a demon. Once the Night Sentinels had learned of this, they worked in secret to break away from the Makers. Given they still refer to Creed Maker as the Bishop, it's clear that this betrayal and the events leading to it haven't occurred quite yet. As for our current story, well, the Dark Ages begins with Hell attacking a village on Argent. The village of Kalim is a mining settlement and vital to the continued operations of the Sentinels and the Makers, so its destruction cannot come about. Overseeing this battle is a Hell Priest and a being known only as the Witch. They are attacking this village because they're trying to find the heart of Argent. As pointed out by King Novik though, it's strange that the demons are even here, because they have a barrier erected that prevents them from entering, which means the portals being summoned here were done by their followers. This is something we've seen in prior games like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, where some of the members of the UAC were working to bring the demons of Hell to their realm, and the same is true here. Those of Argent are being compelled to join the armies of Hell and unleash them into the other worlds. Realizing they are outmatched, they request support in the form of the Slayer. Something has happened to our Slayer though. He has a gold tether on his suit, which also turned his eyes gold. As explained by King Novik later, both the Makers and the King respect the Slayer but believe him to be too dangerous. He has no allegiance to them, only joining sides because of their common enemy. They fear his strength, power, and unpredictability, so the Makers put a tether on his suit. This allows them to control the Slayer and use him as they see fit. They removed most thoughts and processes from his mind, other than those related to killing demons. The tether is meant to keep him on a leash, so to speak. And just in case he breaks out, it's also been implanted with a bomb that will go off when Creed Maker gives the word. As the Slayer lands on the surface, he joins the other Sentinels and pushes the demons out of Kalim. The game then shows us our main villain, Prince Azric, overseeing the battle as well, seemingly not too happy, although not too surprised with its outcome. As he says himself, all of Hell fears the Slayer. All but him. Because of this fear, he can't have full control of the armies of Hell, something he greatly desires, so he must end the Slayer's reign. The prince knows that the heart of Argent can be used to defeat the Slayer, they just need to find it. Which is why, for now, he plans to conquer the humans first, instead of focusing on the Slayer right away. But that of course will take some time. For now, the prince looks into weakening the Sentinels' defenses by destroying the barrier at Hebeth. The planet of Hebeth is far from the Sentinel homeworld of Argent. However, it's far from them, yet so close to us, as Hebeth was a place we had already visited. In Doom Eternal, while trying to locate the final Hell Priest, the Slayer went to the UAC Phobos base and shot Mars with the BFG 10,000 to open its core, as the lost city of Hebeth was lying inside. Now, Eternal notably called this a city, whereas the Dark Ages refers to the planet of Hebeth, but I'm willing to believe they are the same. Eventually, being convinced of the threat thanks to his assistant, Creed sends the Slayer down to Hebeth. However, before that happens, we can see that the strength of the tether is weakening. He was temporarily able to relinquish their hold over him, before the Maker drones increased the voltage and brought him right back. But despite all the Sentinels' honest efforts, the barrier would come down. The core that powers the barrier was destabilizing. Fearing a massive explosion, everyone evacuated except the Slayer, who would rip out the core and toss it into an abandoned mineshaft. The city would be saved, but with the barrier down and Hell's armies advancing at a rapid rate, it's likely Hebetha never came back under Sentinel control again, which would explain its current status as the Lost City within Doom Eternal. As the level ends, we see Prince Azric talking with Daeg Lorik, a member of the Sentinel priests. He's not one of the Hell priests that the Slayer would kill in Doom Eternal, but Lorik belongs to the same sect. It's unclear though if Lorik was one of the ones who betrayed the Sentinels and allied themselves with Hell, although notably he cared more about the ancient wraiths than the Makers, setting him apart from his acquaintances. So it is possible that he didn't. Daeg Lorik, though, while a priest, was secretly married to a commoner, something considered forbidden. It was this thread that Azric would seek to unravel. Lorik wished for his loved one's soul to be at peace in exchange for giving up the location of the Heart of Argent. After the talk, the priest then sends a warning to King Novik and it was picked up by his daughter, Commander Thera. But as that happened, the demons were spotted attacking the Sentinel barracks, the place where they are currently stationed. The Slayers to then stay and defend the barracks while King Novik and Thera rally at the priest's signal. The Sentinel barracks was built atop the remains of the Ancestrals. The Wraiths were the first beings on Argent D'Nur. Their Wraith call created the Ancestrals, but their size and hunger for war devastated the land. That's when the Wraiths would use their Wraith call once more to create the Argenta, or the Sentinels, who would then defeat them. The barracks are located within the city of Kantoth, considered to be the sister city to Exaltia, featured in the second level of Doom Eternal. At the center of the city is the Sentinel Barracks, which houses the Argent Enclave where the Sentinel clans convene. Across the valley is the Drakehelm, where the dragons of the Sentinels are tamed and prepped for war. Many Sentinels are to embark on pilgrimages to Kantoth to prove their worth and resilience, and only the most decorated of knights within the Sentinels could be a part of the Order of Aram, granting them the unique honor of riding the dragons that were tamed here. However, it's learned that this attack on the barracks is just a diversion. The prince wants the Heart of Argent, but the heart is not here. It's in the holy city of Eratum. But by spreading out the Sentinel forces, he hopes that their defenses will be too weak to stop the attack, but the Sentinels still have their ace in the hole. Commander Thera requests that the Slayer's dragon get mounted up and ready for combat. The Slayer and his dragon Sarat share a unique bond. Sarat rejected the Order of Aram, only seeing the Slayer as his one true master. He was attacked and badly wounded during the Battle of Black Pyres, but the Slayer had saved him during this battle, a moment of humility rarely shown by him. It was then that Commander Thera then requested that Sarat be transformed and melded into the killing machine we see today. The war in the Holy City isn't looking good, but now that the Slayer is here, victory is all but confirmed. The Holy City of Eratum is a floating city that sits above Argent D'Nur. It's the epicenter of Sentinel technology, housing relics and texts dating back to the old days of the Ancestrals. After taking down the Hell ships whose presence held up the barrier locking out the innermost city from the rest, the Slayer can get inside and make his way to the Heart of Argent. Both King Novik the Witch and the Prince get there first. It seems as though the Prince has the upper hand, but thanks to some quick planning, the King takes the heart and runs, simultaneously blowing up the Holy City and locking the Prince inside to be taken down with it. With the heart in hand, the Sentinels regroup behind the fortified walls of Terath, but the Prince would soon find them again, now bringing his ship along with many demons from Hell. The Sentinels erected a miniature barrier that prevents them from entering, but with so few numbers, an excursion past it would be suicide. In the sky, the Creedmaker communicates with his assistants on whether they should launch the Slayer to help the Sentinels or keep him here to protect them. While this happens, the Slayer is seen twitching. He managed to break free from their confines, removing their hold over him. But the Makers plan for this inevitability and place sensors that would detect his movement, slowing him down immensely, and even machine guns all pointed at him in case the worst scenario should come to pass. Try as they might though, his anger towards Hell and his undying motivation to save people overcame it. He then attempts to rip out the device implanted in his armor. Knowing that its deactivation will blow up the entire ship, the Makers shut it off before they were killed along with the Slayer. The Slayer is the Con Maker's prized possession, and he would never disrespect her. Plus, as long as that tether exists, he can always find a way to put on a new leash. But with his mind and body now both under his control, the Slayer is free to think for himself. He then immediately beams down to the surface and fights the Prince and his forces. After taking down all 5 Gornests that surround the city, Hell's attempted invasion seems to have been halted. That is, until a Titan appears, and knocks an Atlan mech into the barrier, destroying it for good. The Slayer then makes his way inside, hoping to kill all those who made it past the barrier. He'll then run into the Prince and the Witch once again, who also confront the King, for he has the heart on his person. He fights back against the Witch, but is thrown off the edge of the fortress walls. The king's death seems all but certain, but the Slayer uses the broken Atlan that caused the barrier to crash and tries to stop the prince before he and the witch leave. With the king wounded though, Commander Thera steps up. She says that the person who wields the power of the Heart of Argent would gain power that rivals a god, and maybe even the Slayer himself. However, the heart is incomplete. The other half that's missing is a power source, but not even Thera knows where it is. To prepare, both he and Thera head for the Ancestral Forge, a place of great power. While this happens, Creedmaker is seen talking with Prince Azric. He was able to take control of one of the Maker's drones. He knows that Creed is stranded in this realm, forced to watch over the flow of essence while the others stay in Urdak. He asks if Creedmaker would like to help the prince in a way that could benefit them both. He ends up shooting the drone down, severing the call to the prince. You can tell this offer weighs heavily on his mind. Returning to the Slayer, he makes his way past the Abyssal Forest into the Ancestral Forge. At the foot of the forge, just past the forest, is the Agadon Hunter, who stops the Slayer from entering. Agadons are outsiders to the world of the Sentinels. Doom Eternal tells us that they lived some 80 million years ago, around the North Pole on Earth. Their rare existence is due to them being taken by the armies of Hell and enslaved into their ranks. The once noble beast stalkers now serve Prince Azric, fighting all kinds of marked prey, including our Slayer. Eventually, after many years of fighting though, the Agadon Hunters would be nothing more than a memory, and are presumed to be extinct. But their remains would be found by the UAC's cultists, who work together with the Hell Priest to retrofit their bodies with heavy machinery, turning them into the Doom Hunters. Making his way inside the Ancestral Forge, the Slayer turns on the heart, allowing the forge to be used. The Ancestral Forge was built inside the remains of an Ancestral, the forge's heart belonging to the Ancestral itself. Two Ancestrals, Tharok the Mighty and Eligus the Wise, fought each other in a brutal battle. It ended with Tharok piercing Eligus with his mighty sword. Both the sword and Eligus could still be found right where they were left all those years ago. The sword draws blood from Eligus, which can power the Slayer's shield, giving him access to even more power. With this newfound power in hand, the Slayer then takes the fight to the demons and enters Hell once more. Where he ends up is the Forsaken Plains, which houses the Abyssal Keep, said to be a part of Prince Azric's domain. While making his way there, the Prince, Witch, and Creed meet. Creed, unfortunately, folded, and is willing to betray the Sentinels by giving the Prince the Slayer and Thera's location. As pointed out by the Witch though, no harm must come to Thera, as she is the Heart of Argent. She has untold amounts of power that she has yet to realize, which works in their favor. We also learn the Witch's true plans, as she requests that now that her end of the deal was upheld, the location of the heart, Azric must uphold his end of the deal, which to unleash her god. Although the specifics regarding her god and her identity will have to be put on hold. For now, the Slayer makes their way to the keep, using a now repaired Atlan mech to cover more ground, although by the time he arrives, the prince is sadly gone. The Slayer is then called back to the command station, as Creed has called for a meeting, which can't be a good sign. As you might expect, as soon as he arrives, the attack on the station has commenced. The Slayer then takes Sarat into battle only to find a massive portal floating above the station, with tendrils coming out of it, holding the station in place. While the Slayer did his best, the tendrils have taken the upper command station with it into its realm, which houses both Creed Maker and Commander Thera. Having just barely missed the portal himself, the Slayer is forced to find another way inside. Thankfully, the Makers know of a way. Beneath the northern sea of Estovia is a prison built by the Sentinels and the Wraiths, to hold a cosmic entity of unknown origin. The very seas themselves were parted to be able to contain such a creature. To this day, the creature is still there, lying in slumber, waiting for the day it will be awakened. We may call this beast Cthulhu, but here it's called the Old One, which means it's probably now a good time to talk about the cosmic realm. Having unshackled the beast, the Old One immediately creates a portal to its realm. The Slayer attached himself to the beast and held on for dear life as he was taken into the cosmic realm. The cosmic realm is a completely separate realm, like the Maker's homeworld of Urdak and the fiery pits of Hell, and it's a place not seen in the series until now. The Witch is from this cosmic realm, and the Old One was the god she requested be unleashed. So who is this witch? Taken from the Codex, the Witch, better known as Ulsamir, was born from the congealed madness of the cosmic realm. She is a living conduit for dark magic that courses through her dimension. Her current body is nothing more than a vessel, used to manifest her spirit into the physical world. While she and her cult of worshippers have allied with the prince, her allegiance has always been clear. She remains dedicated to her god, the Old One, whom she spent so much time trying to return to their world. She asks for safe passage, so that their god may go into the other realms and into hers without harm, in exchange for revealing ancient Argent dinner secrets like the Heart of Argent. But ultimately, this alliance is a means to an end for her, a step towards a much higher purpose. As it is a new region though, we know very little about the cosmic realm. All we have are the codex pages to fill in the gaps. Quote, "The cosmic realm is a dimension of unfathomable dread where reality wraps and sanity falters. Ancient structures of impossible geometry rise from the blackened seas, their surfaces pulsating with unholy runes. The skies churn with colors unknown, inhabited by titanic beings that defy comprehension. The oracles of Argent, seers and keepers of forbidden knowledge, whisper a theory that the wraiths, Argent and Ur's ancient gods, may trace their origins to this very realm. End quote. That last line is entirely correct. As cited by the prince himself, the wraiths, the ancient gods of the Sentinels, came from this very realm before making their way here. Where the Slayer ends up in the cosmic realm is the city of Ryul, but he also travels to the Karthul Marshes and the Temple of Lomarith. Not much is known about the marshes or the city specifically, but the Temple of Lomarith is said to be a vast graveyard where vessels are left adrift in the void. Ships from all dimensions can be found here. Some were taken by sheer happenstance, others sought forbidden knowledge and paid the price, but all of them ended up here. The presence of Hell's enemies within this realm is also quite notable, but this has a simple answer. Due to the Prince and Witch's partnership, they offered to share knowledge and forces. They even collaborated on a few. New enemies unique to the Cosmic Realm are the Cosmic Baron, Cosmic Cacodemon, and the Acolyte. Using Hell's Barons of Hell and Cacodemons combined with the eldritch magic of the Cosmic Realm, they were able to create a more powerful variation of enemies we've come to know. While the Acolytes are former priests of Argent and Ur who have been taken and changed by the Cosmic Realm's power. But once the Slayer makes his way through the Cosmic Realm, he then communes with a device in the center of a large pool, before being picked up by the Old One, who swallows him whole. The Slayer then goes to the many canals of the Old One's digestive tract to kill him from the inside. After severing its own heart, the beast throws him and its insides up, giving the Slayer a way out while also killing it in the process. After that slight detour, he makes it inside the temple and finds Thera. Unfortunately, her power is even too much for the Slayer to control, as her abilities zap his suit, making it hard for him to move. Commander Thera has the power of the wraiths within her. That's what the witch meant when she said that she holds power that she doesn't understand how to control. Because she has the power of the wraiths, and the wraiths were created within the cosmic realm, her powers become fully realized in this realm, which explains her current state. Prince Azric then extracts her power and combines his hell energy with the power of the wraiths, making him even more powerful than he already was. Creed then urges the prince to kill the Slayer while they have the chance, but the prince knows that not even death can keep him down, so he decides to lock him in a prison. Thankfully, the Slayer still has the tether attached to his chest, the one with the bomb inside that will go off when ripped from his suit. So he does just that. It knocks the barrier loose, but it kills him in the process. Yet he somehow manages to survive. Well, depending on how you look at it, as while the acid corroded his body, he is still mobile, now with quite the disheveled look. How this is even possible is not fully understood. Where he ends up is the Harbor of Souls. It's located within the first layer of Hell, and its purpose is to serve as a path for those who have died, so they may enter the barge at the end and be taken to their destination within Hell. So the Slayer did die, but how he's able to come back to life is still a mystery. My guess is that it has to do with the powers he received from the divinity machine. The Seraphim had given him immense power when he stepped inside, but we've never known to what extent. So it's possible that this machine had a hand in this, although given that the Mark of the Beast appears right before this may have some significance too. The Mark, according to the Slayer Testaments from Dune 2016, were markings that served as a warning to never let him be freed from his tomb, which he was put in before that game. We've never learned much other than that, but it's something that's followed the Slayer around, as it's seen on his armor and his shield. Regardless of how it happened, this form of his is temporary, as when he commandeers the barge by not paying the toll, he drives out of this layer of hell and into a flash of light. While this is happening, Argent priests are seen conducting a ritual to summon him back from the land of the dead. The ritual is being overseen by Commander Valen and his son Marok. They've appeared in the story already, but I felt this was a good time to bring this up. Commander Valen is better known as the Betrayer in Doom Eternal, as it was he who gave up the location of the Wraiths to the Hell Priests, which led them to being corrupted by Hell, which we saw in Doom 2016. This allowed Hell to defeat the Sentinels, leaving them all but wiped out, save for a few groups that were still wandering Argent and Ur. The reason he gave up this location is because he wanted his son to be resurrected, having died at some point prior. But not only was the price too high to pay, but the priests never really kept their word. They resurrected his son, but they turned him into the icon of sin that we defeated in Doom Eternal. Marok is assumed to be this son. As the Slayer comes to, he jumps right back into action. While the Slayer was gone, Prince Azric took the opportunity to attack the Sentinels. After pushing back the demonic forces, he confronts Creed Maker, who attempts to kill him, now having shown who he truly is. Once he's defeated, Creed tries to offer something of value, hoping to be spared, but the Slayer doesn't care, as he kills him right where he stands. With Creed killed, all that's left is Azric and the Witch. So the Sentinels mount up and prepare for the final assault. The prince then reveals his newest ally, the Old One. Combined with the energies and technology of Hell, the Old One has now been fully revived and is ready for a rematch. After having killed the witch's god again, the prince decides to step in himself. The Slayer is quickly outmatched by Azric, but is briefly saved by Surat, who gives his life to protect them. He then deals enough damage to wound Azric, forcing a retreat, but not before ripping out the power of the wraiths from within him, weakening his overall power. With Azric on the back foot, the rest of the Sentinels rally for the next push, which will then take place on Azric's turf. The Slayer will then have to go up against the Prince and the Witch together, but he manages to defeat them with ease. With both of them dead, the war has been won. Argent is safe, and the Sentinels have only the Slayer to thank for that. As we approach the finale, King Novik and his daughter address the crowd. According to the Makers, Creed was acting alone, and his vision is not aligned with the other Makers. King Novik, however, wants to put together an Inquisition in secret, just in case. As the speech comes to a close, they all wonder where the Slayer went, as he had not been seen since the battle with the Prince. But before the credits roll, we find him inside Creed's ship, now commanding the vessel, while doing what he does best: fighting Hell. Bringing an end to Doom the Dark Ages. While this was just the end of the game, this is not the end of the tale. Unfortunately, we know how this tale ends. The Khan Maker and Hell will ally together and betray the Sentinels, which would spark a civil war, eventually leading to the death of the Sentinels and the capture of the Slayer, only for him to be awoken many years later inside the UAC base on Mars. Then from there, he will fight tooth and nail against the demons both on Mars and on Earth, eventually defeating the Dark Lord of Hell. But even then, the Dark Ages still has many mysteries yet to be unraveled. The game is set to get a story DLC sometime soon. We don't know the specifics as of yet, but there are plenty of places it could go. With the introduction of the Witch in the Cosmic Realm, it seems like the next logical place to go. The Witch is dead, but her body was just a vessel, plus she has other cult worshippers who would likely be willing to pick up where she left off. That being said, during the final fight, Azric says that if he dies, the knowledge of the Old One will be lost forever. So maybe this was intentionally said to wrap up those loose ends, as in context it is certainly peculiar how a realm like this was never mentioned in Doom 2016 or Eternal. This is of course because id Software didn't think of adding this realm until this game, so with that in mind they maybe just wanted this to be a one and done kind of deal. We've also never seen how the Slayer was put inside the coffin in Doom 2016. We do know how from the Slayer Testaments, but we've never seen it in action. It also wouldn't be the first time a Doom DLC ends with the Slayer in a coffin. Still, there are many paths the story could take, but which one it will choose will remain a mystery for now. Thank you all for watching today, and I hope you enjoyed. As I mentioned at the top of the video, keep an eye out for the massive story video encompassing all the Doom games, including the Dark Ages. That should hopefully make some of the more confusing elements of the story make more sense when they're put in chronological order. As always, thank you for joining me today. Like the video if you enjoy, and subscribe if you're new. Feel free to check out my other story videos, both the story explanations like this and the analyses and retrospectives as well. Thank you to my returning viewers for coming back to another video, and to the patrons who continue to support the work I do. Take care everyone. Goodbye.